Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Bank of the West is offering the 1% for the Planet checking account. It gives back 1% of the account's net revenue to the planet at no cost to you. There's no monthly service charge with any deposit per statement, and there's no minimum balance required. The 1% for the Planet checking account, only from Bank of the West. Learn more at bankofthewest.com/1%. Additional conditions apply. Member FDIC.
The Catch-A-Lorette and Friends. From first love to happy ever after.
What's that?
From dating to dick pics.
Oh my. Oh no!
The Catch-A-Lorette and Friends. Oh, I love a good dick.
This podcast contains sexual references, coarse language, and adult themes from the beginning and throughout. It is not recommended for listeners under the age of 15.
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to the Catch-A-Lorette and Friends. I'm Carla Anita Matiazzo, and to my left is the gorgeous Lainey Jameson. What's up, Lainey?
Loving hanging with my Carla girl.
Today's guest, I've known for a long time, Jimmy Smith. He is an artist, he is a musician, and he owns The Walking Creative. You can see a lot of his work around South Australia. He has a lot of murals. At the moment, the newest thing, I think, is the little pot plants in the Rundle Mole, the nice bright pastel gorgeousness that you see as you walk down Rundle Mole. Welcome, Jimmy.
Hi, thanks for having me here.
No worries, buddy. So should we tell everybody how we met? Can you remember how we met?
Yes, I do. We met at uni when we were both studying media arts. We both met at drama class,
Yep.
I remember. Yeah. And that was back when I had extremely long 70s or 80s styled hair, and I was classified as a porn star. Well, I remember it.
Poor Jimmy.
We got the mo.
Poor Jimmy. I think nearly every fucking class we had, I would call you a porn star. Every class. Every class. And I think it's the aesthetic, like you used to wear very 70s clothes with your long flowing hair and the mustache. I was like, Jesus Christ, you are a porn star from the 70s.
Yep. Definitely had some of those vibes going on.
Yeah. You poor bugger. Do you, I feel like we even came up with a name for your porn star character. I feel like there was a name.
We did. Yeah. We did come up with a name. I
can't
remember. I can't remember what it was either, but I remember we had a name. I remember you told me it was actually the last year. I don't know, but I remember it was a recent one, and I was like, that sounds a wicked name.
I think Ollie was a bit jealous because he's a bit jealous that you got all the porn star attention and he didn't.
Yeah, it was a name that was discussed over a couple of drinks. I remember that.
Okay, so to bring the listeners up to speed, this podcast is based on the premise of my award-winning cabaret show, The Catch-A-Lorette, There's Always a Catch, where I talk and sing about my first love to what I thought was happy ever after and everything in between. So let's start there, Jimmy. Can you remember your first crush? Can you tell us that story?
First crush? Very first crush when I was young?
Yeah.
I think mine was probably in the middle school, I reckon. But I think it was year 7, had the hots for this girl, and I don't know, naturally fucking every guy wanted to go for her, and I ended up dating her for a while. But then obviously that was short-lived and it wasn't meant to be.
So it wasn't reciprocated, or how long did that last for?
Oh, what high school was like sometimes. It was probably I reckon it was probably a month, I reckon.
Oh, that's
Pretty
decent.
good in high school too.
Yeah.
Did you hold hands and make out? Was that the extent of it?
Oh yeah, we held hands and made out. Yeah, it was, yeah, definitely more than made out. But that's what you do when you're in year 7, I suppose, don't you? I don't know. Do you?
That's what you do in year 7. That didn't happen at my high school. They went mad. A whole bunch of friends I known through primary school went troppo and became sex crazy. So I congratulate you for holding hands and just making out with your 7 lady love.
Well,
We're all disgusted now, friends.
So from first crush, what would you say was your next step into a relationship? Did you get into a relationship in high school, or did you leave that for your adult life?
I had a couple of relationships in high school. I think I had about 4 different relationships in high school, I reckon.
Yes.
Throughout my whole high school life. Yeah, I had a girlfriend in year 10. Had one in year 11. Had one in year 12. And then, that one in year 7.
Yeah, right. So walk us through the 3 that was in later high school, 10, 11 and 12. What happened? What were those stories? How did you get together? What were the highlights of those 3 experiences?
So the first girl was just some girl. It just started off as like a couple of glances across the lockers, because like we had because I went to Emmanuel College, and in like the big square area we're on top of like the balcony, like the second level of the high school, and so naturally like one side is all lockers here, balcony, and then across the other side there was all these other lockers, and I know we just used to exchange glances every once in a while, and then I just said hi to her, and then it just sort of went from there.
Oh, so cute.
So innocent, Jimmy. So
Yeah, I know.
So all it took for you was a glance in your direction.
Yeah, just a couple of glances, and I was like, I should probably do something. I should probably say hi to this girl instead of just staring at her.
So how long were you with the girl in year 10?
I think it was just half. I can't remember. It was like half a year. It was a pretty long time during probably half a year. I'd probably say, yeah.
That's good going.
Yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, I just remember we hung out for quite a long time during that time period.
At age 15.
Went on.
Yeah. So what brought that to an end, Jimmy?
I actually can't even remember. Like, I think it's just one of those ones that sort of fizzled out. Like, you just sort of weren't feeling it anymore. It just sort of, timing wasn't right. Just wasn't meant to be, I suppose. Yeah.
So then what about the year 11 story? Let's work through them. So year 11, and then bring us to the year 12, the triumph of your high school existence.
So year 11, I started this back when like MySpace was like the in thing at the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just like met off MySpace, and we started talking, and we talked on MSN as well, because that was popular at the time. And yeah, we met up, and we just hit it off like on first date. Funnily enough, we actually have exactly the same birth date, so 15th of November 1989.
Yeah.
Which was scary when you go on the first date and you find that out. We dated for quite a long time. Then that was just like another one that wasn't meant to be either. Oh, I actually forgot when I was just processing that, there was another girl I dated that we met off. No, it wasn't off my. I met her at a gig in year 11. Yeah, dated her for a while. But yeah, it's just another one that just sort of I think it just run its course. Like, we just, wasn't meant to be another one. And then after that, that's when I met another girl. I started going out a lot. And then I went and saw a show at Thebarton Theatre, like a little mini festival. And I saw this band play that I was into at the time. And she just came up to me and started talking to me and went on a few dates. And
Nice. She made the bold move.
Yeah, she made the move. Yeah.
So how long did that
surprising.
one last for?
That only lasted for a couple of months, I reckon. Like we did talk on and off, and then I think that lasted 2 months. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a pretty decent year 11 effort.
Yeah. And then after that, had a little short break, and then dated this girl in year 12. But I was sort of friends with this girl to begin with from year 10, and then we started dating in year 12. Not too sure if I dated her after I finished school, but definitely high school.
How did you transition from friends to more than friends? How does that work?
Well, she used to live around the corner from me, so we used to just walk to school together, walk back from school together, and just realised we had things in common. Like, we'd always go to like each other's parties, and then we just started off as a friendship, and then sort of snowballed into something more. And because we started hanging out more, because she lived around the corner from me, so it's just easy to go to her house and hang out.
So it was convenience that brought you together.
Basically, yeah.
Thank you.
It was like, this is working out.
Proximity, we were told that proximity is a factor.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to find them. If they're close by, that's when it works out. Nothing worse than a long distance.
Yeah.
So what's long distance for you, though? Does somebody have to live in the same suburb for you to hook up with them, Jimmy? Is that what you're saying?
Basically, it has to be within the maximum distance would be half an hour.
Well, that's
minutes
such an Adelaide comment, Jimmy.
Not in Melbourne, where it takes 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so ladies, you heard it here first. If you want to date Jimmy Smith, you better be in a half an hour radius from him, or you better fuck off.
Yes.
So what's your most memorable dating experience, good or bad?
Ooh. I've had a lot of them. I actually don't know where to start. I always get to ask this question all the time, and I get stumped, and then it's like, I know I've had some pearlers out there. Far out. Bad. Actually, like, the best one I probably had was I think it was like in 2015. It was our first date, and we hung out for about, I think it was like 8 or 9 hours. And this was like in the evening. Like we kick-started off like late arvo. Yeah. But yeah, she was like a vegan, and like she was like a Crows fanatic, and we just had heaps in common. We were talking, and we did date for quite a long time. But yeah, she was the one that destroyed me and like turned me into who I am today. But yeah, like I don't really talk to her anymore. But she was like one that was like, man, this girl was like, I genuinely had like feels for her, and it was like getting like into like really deep relationship, and we started talking about things. And because she was an aspiring journalist, which was great. Like, I love seeing people enthusiastic about what they do, and because I'm very supportive of that. But yeah, she told me that she had plans to move to Sydney and aspire to her like journalism career and all that. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. And then she was like, yeah, I don't really see this working out, because I'm going to be living in Sydney, and I don't know how easily it's going to be maintained. And I'm like, cool. And then, it just made me like feel a bit like shit, because I was like, this girl was like ideal, because like I remember I actually laid eyes on her when I saw Russell Brand live at Entertainment Theatre. And yeah, she just stood up and Russell Brand approached her and she was talking and I was just like, wow, that girl was stunning. And then I actually come across her on Tinder at the time and we just started talking and hit it off. And then, yeah, went on that date and then things were going swimmingly until we had the chat and then it just sort of ended. Yeah.
So did our proximity rule emerge after that? Do you think that might have been a bit of a catalyst for that? Sydney's definitely more than half an hour away.
Oh no! She lived in town. She lived like in the CBD.
Yeah, I realised.
Yeah, she lived in the CBD. Yeah.
Yeah, but moving to Sydney, that was definitely not going to work in with the rule.
Oh yeah, no. Like, she was very adamant, like it wasn't going to work out. So, because I was like trying to make it work. I was like, we can make this work, but she was very firm on this isn't going to work. I'm like, I'm trying. Yeah, she was very. Yeah, which is kind of.
So
like,
you were willing to break your rule, then, Jimmy? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I was willing to put in a good hard yard for the relationship to work, but it was just a firm no. No matter which ball I'd throw at her, it was just a firm no. It was like a ping pong ball coming right back at me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So in relationships, Jimmy, now that you've tested your strength, so to speak, in relationships and what you want and what you don't want, what would you say are your basic requirements in a relationship when it comes to how you conduct yourself and what the other person needs to bring to the table? What are your expectations?
That's a really good question because, I have dated like a lot of girls and, they are learning experiences because like you're finding out what you like and don't like in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And you also you're learning about yourself and you're also learning about the other person as well.
Yeah.
And their behaviour attributes and your behaviour attributes. And I just think it's really interesting. But for me, I think it's honesty and transparency and just someone that's like laid back and chilled like myself. Because I've dated a lot of crazy girls, so to speak, and they've been very controlling and manipulative and their way or the highway. And it's something I don't really gel with. I just can't.
So how do you think, Jimmy, two very laid back, chilled out people will get a relationship off the ground? If you're both super chill, if you're both super laid back, how the fuck is a relationship going to happen?
They're out there. Like I know girls that are pretty laid back like myself and they just sort of like go with the flow. I know they're out there. Like I've got friends that are like that. They're not crazy. So I know there's some girls out there that aren't crazy. I definitely know that.
So what's crazy? Give me an example. What does crazy mean to you? I want some specifics here.
So crazy means to me for girls that are very questioning me all the time, controlling, manipulative, like I can't do this, I can't do that. There's no real give and take. Obviously give and take's important, but I've been stuck in some relationships where it's like their way or the highway. I want to do things and it's like, oh, but why don't you come and do this with me? And then there's no communication as well.
Yeah. So there's no compromise. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. There's always there's just always agreeing to disagree sometimes, and it just. Then the girls start crying and try to make me like feel guilty, and it's.
So that's your definition of crazy.
Yeah, well, just manipulative and controlling, and no real give and take. It has to be like give and take and honesty and transparency, and I think it's important to tell your partner like what you're up to and what you're doing, and invite them along to things and whatnot. But just being like harassed all the time can be a bit too much for me.
So do you think, what's your longest relationship, Jimmy?
I think my longest was probably in year 12, I think. Yeah, actually probably like under a year. I haven't really had any long-term relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So do you think you haven't been able to sort out how to find that balance with somebody just because time hasn't been on your side?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, yeah, I'd say so. Time probably hasn't been on my side, but it would be nice to find someone, I reckon. But yeah, finding the right person, I think it has been like hard, but yeah, it's definitely harder out there as you get older, because actually all your friends and all got like having kids and getting married, and see in thing to have a baby now. No, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you're saying. So how do you go about changing those odds? Because in South Australia, the ratio, you boys have a plethora to choose of with females when it comes to ratios of single men, single women. It's very different. So how do you go about casting your net out there, Jimmy, to catch the women that are available?
Who catches your eye?
Good question. I've been on the dating apps before. I just generally start up like a general conversation. Look, I'm not really one for dating apps. I find them really quite boring. Like, I've been on them a couple of times, and I do struggle to hold a conversation with someone online, because like for me, when I'm talking to someone online, I use online apps, whatever, as a communication tool. Just like, hey, cool, I'll see you then. It's just more for like arranging things and just exchanging. I just always exchange a couple of words, and like my friends know that I don't really
have conversations.
Yeah, I don't really put out long paragraphs or anything like that, because like those sort of things are for when I see them in person. It's like, cool, I'll just meet you at this point and I will see you then. I use it as a tool just to short communication for meetings or arranging like phone calls or seeing someone in person, because like I feel when I'm talking to someone face to face, I can gain more out of them, and you can have a thorough in-depth, and you can see like their expression and their
the reaction a lot more clearly, a lot more readily.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you do engage with them more clearly, because like you're seeing them in the physical state and seeing how they act, behave. You're looking at their body language, and I think you sort of what you see is what you get. And you sort of form your own opinion from that.
Yeah. So, Jimmy, do you believe in happy ever after then? And what does that look like for you?
Happy? Like providing like you've found the right person for sure, but not every relationship's going to be like all like smooth sailing. I definitely have been around friends, like it's not perfect. Because no one is perfect, but I've definitely been people in relationships. You see them, you're sort of standing from the outside looking in, like the way they behave, how them like arguing. Like, sure, like I've met some of my mates, like my best friends, like in some wicked relationships, but from times you do see them arguing in front of you, and it's like, oh, okay, like they do have days where they're just like burst.
Yeah, but that's because it's two different people in a relationship. If they were robots, they'd agree all the time. So it's two different individuals in a relationship at all times. Yeah, so there's no matter how perfect they are as a couple and how fucking amazing they are, there's still going to be moments where they're like, no, I disagree and fuck you, and it's just
of course
communication,
So
exactly. And that's what I believe in. Yeah.
I'm interested to find out what the perfect package would be for you. combination would, other than easygoing, that we know that you're interested in having somebody who's pretty chilled out and easygoing and probably, friendly. So what else does that encompass, that perfect woman or close to perfect woman that would really get your attention?
Yeah, I think common interests do help. There's nothing worse than being, I don't know, I don't really believe in opposites attract. I've never really believed in that. The girls I've dated, I've always had some formed some sort of common bond with them. Like, it all starts off with like a common interest. It might be being vegan, might be art of any kind, might be like music. Yeah, because like I think when you go on these dates, if you're holding a strong conversation and it's easygoing and it's flowing, that means like you're forming a good connection. Like, for me, there's nothing worse than being on a date and having nothing in common whatsoever and it just going nowhere. Because I've been there before, and I just say straight up to them, I said, look, this isn't going anywhere. I'm not forming any connection. I'm just going to call it a day. And there has been times where the girl tries to make up something and tries to keep the ball rolling, and I'm just like, look, I'm sorry, but I can't. We're not connecting here, and I think we're just better off calling it a day. But for me, it's all about a common bond, like finding a common interest, and because like with those common interests, you can do like those things together. Like, you can go hiking together, or go to a show together, or holidaying together, and things that all things like couples enjoy doing. There's nothing worse than being in a relationship and someone saying, oh no, I don't like doing that, no, I don't want to go there. It's like, then what's the point?
Total wet blanket.
It's all about, like, because that's like, it's important to have that, because that's what maintains like a healthy relationship, doing things as a couple together and that you both enjoy doing them. I think that's what's important for me anyway.
So it's got a foundation of sort of easy communication, getting along easily, same trajectory on the same page. Yeah, I've lived that one too. I had an on-again, off-again relationship for a great many years with a man who was charming and talkative to everybody but me. And it was just quite heartbreaking in a lot of ways, and yet I persevered. So I've lived that awkward lack of conversation, lack of...
Yeah. Does get awkward sometimes, yeah.
Man. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
You just got to be upfront and honest. Like, if you're not feeling it or you got something to say, you might as well just spit it out. Like, there's no point in hiding it.
Correct.
Yes.
How have your deal breakers changed as you've gotten older?
I don't think of... I think many of them have changed. Like, I have, I do have exceptions. I don't really have much of a deal breaker apart from the, being within range. That's probably like the only thing. But obviously, like, as you know, I'm vegan, so if someone eats meat or whatever, it's not going to bother me. Like, that's just them. Like, if we got other things in common, or if I get along with them, then that's fine.
Yeah,
like, I'm honestly not even phased. Like, because I know I'm more of like a laid back vegan. There's other vegans out there like, oh, I'd never like date someone's got meat. But for me, like, I don't care.
Yeah, I know. Look, my stance on, and my journey with food, Jimmy. I think we've spoken about this before. I was vegetarian at 12 and vegan at 22. So I did it a long time ago when there wasn't one, vegan junk food, and two, it wasn't a common thing. So people did not understand it, and there were, especially as a teenager, there were many a time, and this was when I was just vegetarian, there were many a time where I would leave, say, new events with new people that didn't know me that well, and then they found out that I was vegetarian when I was a teenager. and I would leave many an event fucking in tears because somebody would have ripped into me about my belief system. I think it's a very private and personal thing. I am not the type of vegan that will upfront tell people that I am. I think what people consume is a very personal thing. I think, and I kept in mind when I used to, and it wasn't numerous times, so it was many times I'd leave an event and I'd feel like an absolute piece of shit, and I wouldn't understand how what I was consuming or not consuming was affecting anybody else.
That's so
Yeah.
I just don't understand. Yeah.
On that count.
Yeah, I just don't. So when that used to happen, I remember making a mental note for myself. I will never be one of those people, vegetarian or vegan, that will make somebody feel uncomfortable, give them indigestion, make them anxious when they are sitting down trying to relax and eat food.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that used to happen. Like, we'd be sitting down and eating, people would be picking on me for not eating meat. Like, there'd be people fucking ripping into me, and then I couldn't finish my meal because I was so anxious and upset. I just used to stop going to events where I knew people may confront me about it, because nobody wants to sit there at a social event and feel like, okay, it's only a matter of time before somebody finds out I'm not eating meat. Someone's going to be offended that doesn't know me very well. So I made a conscious effort not to do that to people. And I know that's a very unpopular vegan thing to do, because I know what's expected these days of a vegan is to preach, is to indoctrinate, is to force people into that. No. This is what I've chosen to do. And if me making those choices just makes people question in their minds without me having to say anything where their food comes from, that's enough. That's enough for me. That's enough for me, you know?
Well said.
Yeah, the same problem used to happen to my dad a lot, because my dad's been vegetarian for over 30 years now, and he had the same problem. Like, yeah, I know exactly where you come from, and Dad would go to parties and, yeah, he'd say he's vegetarian. People would like look at him as if he was like really odd, like, vegetarian, like, what are you, like, what's wrong with you, sort of thing. And yeah, and I remember, like, back in the day when, because he knew some people used to own McDonald's franchises, and he was like, oh, you should come out with like a vegetarian burger someday. And then when he pitched the idea, they just looked at him like, fuck off, mate, are you serious? Like,
and now they've got a vegan burger.
Yeah, you go to like all like Hungry Jack's, McDonald's, all these big, they've all got vegan burgers, and Dad's like, look who's laughing now, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's right. I think, and it's interesting, I've never dated or been in a relationship with somebody that is vegan. That's never happened, because I want to get the person right. If what they consume is not in line with what I consume or not consume, to me, I know this is going to be really unpopular with the vegans, but that's not a deal breaker for me. And I think even when I have kids one day, I think I will allow that child to work out what their food journey is. Obviously, I'm not going to let my kids have junk food. I'm very against sugar. That's a different story, very different story. But when it comes to food and consuming animals, if my child wants to do that, I will be supporting that decision, but I will also be explaining where that comes from, and if they have any questions, giving them the honest answers, because I think I'd be going against my ethos if I didn't answer those questions, but also not giving the child the opportunity to work out what's right for them.
Correct.
What did your dad do with you, Jimmy? Because he was vegetarian. Were you brought up vegetarian? How did that go?
No, I worked it out for myself. Dad never preached his vegetarianism on me. I just started listening to my body when I was going to the gym a lot, like maybe 5-6 years ago. I don't know. I just found that when I was consuming a lot of dairy, I just felt sick. I felt like shit. And then I started, speaking to a dietitian, and funnily enough, this girl, she was like against dairy, and she was a Greek dietitian, and you know what Greeks are like, they love the cheese and their meat and all that.
Yeah, and feta, yeah.
Feta, yeah. And she's like, oh, yeah, you got to get off dairy. And I'm like, yeah, cool, that sounds good. And I was just open to it. Like, I said, yeah, cool. And then I started doing a bit of research and looking into like dairy-free alternatives, and I actually got into Dr. Michael Greger. I don't know if you're familiar with him. I started reading, he's a vegan doctor, and I started reading up on his abstracts and just learning about more and more about how dairy can affect your body and stuff, and it just sort of made sense.
And it's much better you feel once you make that decision, because I was the same as yourself, Jimmy. I worked it out for myself, and I also learned about what's happening to the animals in the process. And I felt so much better after I stopped drinking copious amounts of milk, eating heaps of cheese, pigging out on ice cream. It wasn't, and at that
shit house.
Making great choices. So, cream and butter. And it wasn't yogurt.
And I think, that it's so wonderful for the vegans that have decided to be vegan in the last 5 years, because there are so many more options for vegan ice cream, vegan, so much stuff. When I started, it was just fruits and vegetables and legumes and gluten-free pasta and whatever. But the last 5 years, especially in Victoria, there are so many options, and it's easy to be an unhealthy fat vegan.
Yes, I know.
I just want the listeners to understand, do not assume that being vegan is healthy. You still have to make sure that you are eating a balanced, clean diet in some respects. Look, I'm not a dietitian. I know nothing. I just know what I want and don't want to put in my body and whatnot. But you can easily be a fat, unhealthy vegan, just like you can be a fat, unhealthy anybody.
Of course.
People have this misconception just because you're vegan and you've cut all this stuff out, but then if you replace it with all the junk food that you can now get as a vegan, you can be just as bad, if not worse, health-wise.
Yeah, of course, 100% agree with that.
Well said, people. It's hard to talk with like-minded people.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting.
If you look at my Facebook page, it's all about animal activism, animal rights, what's happening to animals, and our show, of course. But, so much of my content on Facebook as I've got older has been trying to raise awareness about our animals. Because if we eat them all and we treat them like crap, we're not going to have any left.
Yeah, that's sad.
That's right. Yeah. And probably if not like not so much clean environment either, it's going to be, if we cut it all out, we have like a much cleaner environment. I mean, I know it is pretty clean at the moment, but like we are in the process of cleaning it up, with the waste and the plastics and the carbon and all that. But obviously cows do impact the environment a lot, as with the methane that they release out in the atmos.
I just want to hug cows. Cows are like big dogs. Whenever I see cows, I just want to go and hug them. And they're just like big doggies.
Yes, they are.
I love them so much. They're so good. The Catch-A-Lorette, with friends near and far, from heartache to catfish and sex toys. The Catch-A-Lorette and friends. See you next time, if you dare.
Bank of the West is offering the 1% for the Planet checking account. It gives back 1% of the account's net revenue to the planet at no cost to you. There's no monthly service charge with any deposit per statement, and there's no minimum balance required. The 1% for the Planet checking account, only from Bank of the West. Learn more at bankofthewest.com/1%. Additional conditions apply. Member FDIC.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.